Record progress.
Shalom. I just wanted to talk a bit. I'm gonna call this we need more of that in the earth. So I'm 53 years old now and been walking as an Israelite for quite some time. And I don't know, I really view myself as one that has a lot of integrity. My word is my bond. Many people may not like me or whatever, but that's on them. When I say something, is what 9 out of the 10 times I'm trying to do that. I'm doing that. My word is my bond. I don't put stuff out there unless I really mean it. Um, I'm not perfect at all, but when it comes to my character and integrity, I'm serious about it. My word again is my bond, and I'm one that protects my name. I want what I say to be and not to, be a lie. So now my son is 26 and he has a lot of my characteristics, but the thing is, with my son, he has the effects of my first marriage and the damage that occurred in that. Also, when I was raising him up, I raised him up Christian. And so there's a lot of things that's different in the way that I am now. Now, he came to become an Israelite on his own and not with my teaching. And so it's a wonder that we're in the same place to an extent. We have some different philosophies in this, different ways and doctrines, I guess, but still, I see a little bit. And, he's raising a son, but his son is going to be raised more so in his image. And so have his beliefs more so than mine. Yeah, I'll have some influence, but man, it kind of like, man, has me look at like, man, what would it be like for me to raise a son fully in my Israelite or Hebraic culture and mindset? What would happen? And see, that has me look back. I know quite a few different men that I respect highly, and these men, they don't have any children. I know quite a few men that are, they're married later in life and stuff like that. So they married women closer to their age. So the women may have already had children, but the men did not. And so I'm like, man, it'd be awesome to see that representation, that man being able to sow into a son who he is and have that son take that to the next level. Be awesome. Also like my wife's father, basically as he matured, I guess. When I met him, he was just this awesome man. But I heard about some of the, I guess, maturing of his life, and so it's like, man, if that man that I met, if I had known him all my life, I would be a whole completely different man. So he does have sons, but of course, again, they don't, they didn't get the benefit of the man he became. They got to deal with the man that was becoming. And so it's like, wow, to have that influence and have that experience would be something. He's no longer here and stuff like that. So I'm always looking back at the things that he showed me. He showed me some things with cars a little bit because I didn't have any knowledge. He showed me a little bit with plumbing, a little bit because I didn't have any. I was raised in a house full of women and I'd had no knowledge of these things and no one had taken the time to show me. So he showed me those things. But if I would have had those things at a younger age, how much further I would be. No, I don't have any regrets or anything. because it is what it is. I'm where I'm at, but I'm just like still looking and saying how we have so many people that are producing children that people would view as morally not right. And you see them with, 5 or 6 children. And it's like, wow. But then those that we see as these, I guess, spectacular people, or, their character is high, their integrity, they may have zero, one, maybe 2 children at the most. And it's like, man, I get it. You can't just make up children just to be making up children. But man, I would love to see those people replicated in the earth, to see that DNA to go on, that bloodline, and that character and that reputation to move forward. I've guess showed about Rechab or whatever, the Rechabites and stuff, and how with all of his children, he had gave them an assignment not to drink, not to, live in houses and stuff like that. And all of the descendants followed that. But he had that set mindset when he started teaching them. The mindset I have now, like I said, I was a Christian, and it was times that I mingled with Muslim, Islam, all these different things. Now I'm an Israelite. My children have had more time with me teaching them to be Christians than they have with me being an Israelite. And now that they are adults, they don't really have to sit under my teaching like that. It's like, wow. And so you train up a child in the way they should go. And it's hard for them to depart from what they've done before. And a lot of times they look at me almost like it seems as if they're like questioning, like, are you sure? You were sure before, but we're here. So how sure were you? And I'm like, I can't really be upset about it, because now all my children are adults. And yes, I've been in this thing for a decade, but still, if they're adults, that means they spent a decade likely as Christians prior to this decade of me being an Israelite. And it's like all of the family, everybody around us is more so Christian, or it had that mindset. And that is more appealing. People say, well, Shankly, you don't do nothing. You know, I'm one that used to celebrate birthdays. I used to have a birthday gathering at my house almost every year, but now I don't celebrate birthdays. So, when everybody else is celebrating birthdays, of course they don't let me know whatever, because you don't do that. And so even when there are other celebrations, the fact that they didn't reach out to me about that, it's almost like I'm forgotten. And I can't get mad at anybody about that, because that's just, it's like, oh, maybe he don't do that. Maybe he don't do that. You know, when I went to my son's baby shower and stuff, for his child, is expecting twins and stuff. It's like, you know, it was good to be around people, but of course you had a mixture. My ex-wife was there, and the family of my son's, baby mama. And of course, it's like it's not a union situation far as them being connected in marriage or whatever. So it's like, man, it's already some issues in the mix. So you got to, deal with all of this different tension and stuff like that. So it's like, man, hmm, all of these influences other than the influence that I want to share. And of course, my way is not always the right way, but I would still love to see a child raised up the way I believe a child should be, and not have opposition towards that, as much as I did. Because of course, my ex-wife, we conflicted so much. That's why we're not married now. My family, we conflict so much. They don't agree. They never agree with a lot of stuff. When I wouldn't, say, hey, we don't do that. Don't get them no candy. No, they don't just be hugging anybody. People like, what's wrong with him? But I'm like, no, I'm being a protector, I'm being a covering, and I'm setting guidelines and rules for my house. Well, that ain't how we that ain't how we did it, but I'm doing something different. I'm the outlier. I'm not following the same plan. Well, you came out all right. I'm like, yeah, I came out all right, but I still have a lot of trauma that I'm dealing with. All of the abuse that happened and stuff like that, maybe it wasn't abuse back then, but nowadays it would be viewed as abuse. And so I'm like, I want to do something different. And again, I'm speaking on me, but man, I know so many different men that it's like, man, like, I have a friend named Frazier that I'm like, I would love to see him as a father because I see what type, he's athletic. He likes to, now he looks always business wise. He always dressed for business. So I would view that some probably would say, oh, he's square, but he has good character, good, integrity. And then he likes to go play basketball all the time. So I could see him guiding his child towards basketball. Would love to see him be a father, but not in a situation where we have a broken family and stuff like that. And he has not produced because he hasn't gotten married. I'm like, man, but I would love to see it. You know, I know I've had a childhood friend. I'm not gonna mention his name because but he desired to be a father since we were young folks, and he's older than me, and he's never had a child. He's been married for a little while, and his wife has children from previous relationships and stuff like that. And it's like, man, and so he's in that, and I'm like, man, I think he would be an awesome father, but as long as he's in that union or whatever and he's staying the monogamous life, it's not going to happen. And he's nothing, they're not getting any younger. Maybe he can deal with her children's children, but of course they live way different and their mindsets are different than he is. Now, his mindset is different than mine. He's not an Israelite, but it's just like still, I see how much love he's had dealing with other people's sons. And I'm like, man, I would love to see him have his own. Well, I just want to just talk because sometimes I feel like we only look limited and we look at how we feel about things. No, if men that are very, very ethical, have great character, get up in age, never having children, the likelihood if they marry someone at their same similar age, them having children is not. So the likelihood they would have to marry someone younger. And the older you get, it's going to be a problem. I remember Dr. Sebi, he basically had a period of time that he was sterile. And I think he actually produced a child when he got close to his 70-year old birthday or 60, 70-year old. And so, of course, his wife was younger. And of course, people had problems with that. Like, why is he with this young woman? Oh, yeah, he had older children. But I'm like, man, when he broke, did all he did with his nourishments and stuff like that and got help, he was able to have a child. It's sad, modernly, it's not safe a lot of times for women at the 50s to be having babies and stuff. And they have to use all these drugs and everything to make it happen, but men still can have children. And it's like, man, if this man is such a high character person, why would you not want him to reproduce and put that character, that DNA, that integrity? in the earth again. Shalom.